Transformation Nation, what is up? I am so excited to be back with you guys. It has been a long 2 months, yet they have been some of the most refreshing and productive months that I've had. I learned how to rest. And my encouragement to each and every one of you, you're out there on your grind. You're out there, attempting to fulfill your vision. You're walking in purpose. Make sure that you make rest a part of that. Why? Because that's when we are most creative, when we are able to move with purpose, and when we are more alert. Many of us are not alert of opportunities that are being presented to us because we have not physically rested our body properly. And if it's one thing I've learned over these last 2 months is that it is important to rest. But now we're back. We're hitting the ground running. I'm so excited to be back here tonight with Transformation TV, where we transform lives through the Word of God. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. I thank you for listening to this replay. Why? Because it's not live. So I thank you for listening to the replay of this conversation. We're having a conversation tonight. We're not going to dive back into the series on tonight. I'm just going to bring you guys up to date with everything that's been going on and let you know where we're going to be going in the next month, the next year, and so on. All right, let's pray. Father, we thank you. We glorify you. We thank you for being Lord of all. We thank you for loving us in spite of the times when we haven't felt very lovable. We thank you for showing us who you are and showing us who you created us to be. We thank you for taking time to create each and every one of us. Now, Father, I ask for forgiveness of every sin, thought, word, and deed, asking that you purify my heart, my mind, and my spirit. I'm asking that you take coals from upon the altar, burn my lips, purify my lips, that when I speak, I will speak with conviction. When I speak, I will speak with experience. I will speak with power and authority, because God, it is you speaking through me. Have your way. Do what you desire to do. Heal, deliver, set free, transform lives on tonight like never before. Begin to introduce people to their identity, introduce them to their purpose, and reawaken every gift, talent, and ability that is inside of them. Reignite the fire and the passion for your purpose and will for their life. In the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, I pray. And we all say, Amen. I thank you again for each and every one of you joining us. As I said, I have missed y'all so much, but I do thank God for the rest that I've gotten over these last 2 months. For those of you who may not be aware, I had to take a 2-month break or sabbatical, or those who know Kobe D, I think it's Kobe D. Smith, Savannah. But I had to take a little break because I had to have 2 eye procedures done. And those eye procedures would not permit me to be in front of these bright lights. I had to give my eyes time to heal, give my body time to heal. And as I said, I rested. I listened to the doctor. I couldn't lift over 25 pounds. I couldn't do any of those things. So I took that time to rest and regroup, y'all. And I'm telling you now, I'm back and I'm ready to run with this vision like we've never ran with this vision before. I thank you all for your patience. I thank you for your understanding. I thank you for your prayers. I thank you for the phone calls, the text messages, the Facebook messages, the Instagram messages. I just thank you for reaching out and showing the love that you show. This was not a very easy time for me because I was also going through some emotional and psychological things at this time as well. I'm going to talk about that a little later as well. But I thank God for each and every one of you that stood as my support team. You know, when I saw a saying on, I think it was either Instagram or Facebook, and it said, check on your strong friends. And many of you have viewed me as your strong friend. And many times you guys did not know how close I was to completely throwing in the towel and just walking away. But I thank God how he dealt with each and every one of you at different times throughout this time or space that I was going through, but not even just now, even throughout my entire life. I'm grateful for those that he has placed around me as a support system, whether it was seasonal support or some of you have been in this thing for the long haul. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate the God in you. I respect you for who you are. And I just pray that as God used you as provision in my life, that he will continue to send provision to you in forms of businesses and in forms of ministries, in forms of resources and finances and grant writers and everything that's needed in order for your ministry or your business or your personal life to go to the next dimension. I pray that this be an awesome season of provision for you because of what you did to me. The Bible says you give the prophet a glass of water, you'll be blessed. And all of you have served me a glass of water throughout my journey and throughout my process. And I don't take it lightly. I appreciate you all. All right. So let's talk. First thing I want to talk about, as I said, we're not going to do a teaching tonight. I just want to get you guys caught up on everything that's been going on. The last couple of months, I've had 2 procedures on my eyes. Well, I had one on my left and one on my right. They did them at 2 different times. We started with the left eye. No, we started with the right eye. For some who may not be aware, I have been accustomed to seeing out of one eye for a while. I wore a contact in one eye for a long time. The right eye, I wore a contact that did not have a prescription in it. It was just a placeholder. I had just been accustomed to seeing out of my left eye. They did not believe they could get much out of this right eye. And I'm telling you this testimony because I want this to encourage you, even if it doesn't have anything to do with your eyes. I want you to see that there may be some things in your life that you may feel or others may feel are of very little value, and much can't be done in order to produce through that very thing or be produced from that very thing. But I want you to know that when man says this, what man says is impossible, it really is possible from God. I know sometimes we get caught up in the cliche of things and we say, well, that's what we're supposed to say. Well, when I speak, I don't speak to you from things that are supposed to be said. I speak to you from things that I've personally experienced for my life. I know God to be a healer. I know him to be a deliverer. I know him to be a mind regulator. I know him to be a provider. I know him to be a father. I know him to be a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. I know him to step in at times when it seems impossible or it seems as if nothing can happen. I've been down to nothing and him step right in. And as he steps in, we begin to see him move with great power and authority and do what only he can do. So when I speak to you tonight, I'm speaking to you from a place of experience with God. I've had experiences with God. I've had encounters with God, and they have transformed my life. So we begin the procedure on my right eye. Okay. Now, as I said, much was not expected out of my right eye. Those who may not be aware, I did have cornea transplants years ago in both eyes. There was rejection in my left eye, so we went in and did another cornea transplant. Then in my right eye, a couple years ago, we developed some blood vessels that started attacking the cornea, which started to distort the vision in the right eye, and it almost caused rejection in the right eye. It'd be to have another cornea transplant. However, I work with a great team of doctors. God has blessed y'all. He's blessed me with a team of doctors that work together. And when one can't figure it out, they're willing to find out if the other one can figure it out. And they work together, and I'm grateful for each and every one of them. One of my doctors referred me to another specialist right there in the facility. He saw what was going on, and he decided he wanted to try a new procedure on my eye. And I said, sure, hey, why not? Why not try? And he began to do this progressive laser type of procedure where for 6 weeks, we would go in, and for about 20 minutes, he just would shoot lasers around my cornea, attempting to kill the blood vessels that were attacking the cornea. So we did that for 6 weeks, ended up working. Those no longer was that cornea under attack. However, you know, the eye still was of very little value because it just was sitting there. So this fast forward, you know, this year they found a rare form. Of course, it's me. I laugh when they said it's a rare form because if you know anything about my eyes, medically, that's the only thing that's ever been a major medical situation for me has been my eyes. But everything that's developed in my eyes have been rare, okay? So they found a rare form of cataract in my eyes. So the doctor decided he wanted to do surgery, cataract surgery. And he believed that cataract surgery was going to cause this eye to be at almost 20/20 vision, this left eye. But he said he didn't expect much out of the right eye. So we went on in April and we did the right eye. After the procedure with the right eye, we go in the next day for the test and I start to read the vision, you know, take the vision test. And the nurse was amazed because she was like, wait a minute, or the technician was amazed because she said, wait a minute, you're reading at the driver's level out of your right eye. Now, again, remember, this was a space filler. They thought that there was no hope for this eye. They didn't expect anything from this eye, but I was holding on to the promise that God promised me. You see, he promised me that not only would I see 20/20 in the spirit, but I would see 20/20 in the natural. That was a promise God gave me years ago. And I began to hold on to that promise. I began to confess that promise over my eyes, even though it was not looking like what he had said. And some of you right now, you have a vision, or you may be even sick in your body, and it may not look like what God has promised you, but I want you to hold fast to what he said. So then they were so excited about what was going on in my right eye, the doctor decided, well, why don't we just move up the surgery in your left eye? Oh, excuse me. So we moved up the surgery in the left eye, and as we went through the procedure, in the left eye. Now, in the left eye, I actually was awake on the table longer than they thought I should be. And I felt something and I jumped. And they ended up having to give me more anesthesia to put me to sleep. But in the right eye, they ran into some complications with the left eye. To have this surgery, the doctor had to be very skillful, because he had to cut around the cornea without damaging the cornea in both eyes. Because if he had damaged it, then we would have to do another cornea transplant as well. All right. So he had to be very skillful. So in the left eye, he had to place, I think he said, I don't want to say a number because I don't want to come off as lying. I'm going to find out again the amount. It was a high amount of stitching he had to put around the lens that they placed in my eye. For those who may not know, that's what they do with cataracts. They place a new lens in your eye. Around that, and they had to provide some stitching to help bridge some things because my cornea popped out during the surgery. Yeah, my cornea popped out multiple times during, not my cornea, I'm sorry, my pupil popped out multiple times during the surgery. So he had to stitch my pupil back together as well. For those who don't know what a pupil is, look it up. It's that, you know, look it up. It kept popping out during the surgery. So he was nervous. He thought something was going to go wrong with my eye, but I kept holding on to the promise of God. I've shared this with very few people. And when it happened, I didn't share it with anybody. Matter of fact, I told very few people about the surgery because I just felt this was a time I'm just going to believe you, God. I don't need a whole bunch of people praying for me. I don't need any of those things. Not against that, but this was something between me and God. This was a personal thing between me and God. So he was very careful. He was very careful with everything with this left eye. He was very, nervous and scared. So I went back that same day. That's when he told me about it. But then I had to come back a week later. And when I came back a week later, they asked me to read out of my left eye. And when I read out of my left eye, it was seeing just as good as the right eye. So I was reading at driver's level to pass the driver's test without any glasses, without any contacts. Now, that might not mean much to anybody, but if anybody knows how my sight used to be, excuse me, I haven't been able to drive in years because of my sight, even with a contact. So, you know, being able to read at that level was mind-blowing. But it didn't stop there. I went back again, and when I went back, the young lady was just amazed. She's like, oh my God, you can read below the driver's level. Y'all, now I'm just, you have to excuse me, I'm going to try to keep my composure as I'm sharing this because this is huge for me. She said, you're seeing below, you know, the level. Now, I will say one of the side effects with the cataract surgery is that I have to wear reading glasses, okay? Because although it's fixed my vision far, it has not helped with the vision, you know, with the reading level. But even in that, there was a testimony there because now they have me, right now they have me reading you below the driver's level without any contacts, without any glasses. I did order some glasses because it will help enhance my vision and help me be able to read up close. But he's just amazed. And here's the big testimony. Those who know me know that I go to the eye doctor at least once or twice a month. I've done that for years now. I have to because of my eyes. Just went last week and he told me I'll see you in 4 months. Y'all, when I tell you it was so hard for me to contain myself in that room because I said, God, this is nobody but you. So I want to encourage you out there. You might be looking at a situation and that situation may appear to be dead. It may appear to be in a coma. It may appear to be at a place where there's no hope, no way, no how. But I want you to know when you put it in the hands of the Creator, because I put my specialists in the hands of the Creator. Every time they would tell me something and they say, we don't know how this is going to be, I said, it's not a problem. You don't have to know how it's going to be. With all of your schooling, and see, I have a medical doctor, and then I have also one of my specialists is an MD, and my other specialist is a DO. For those who may not know what a DO is one who has the exact qualifications as an MD. However, they focus on the environment and other things that can cause some of the sicknesses or diseases that you may have. So they were dealing with it from all perspectives, except from the spiritual perspective. I had to handle the spiritual perspective. I had to hold that down. So as long as they were doing their job and I was willing to do what I needed to do and put it all in God's hands, God was willing to do what only He can do. So I stand here today, and for the first time in years, y'all, in years, and when I say years, I mean years, I'm able to read below the driver's line of the vision test, which means soon I'll be able to drive again. I've had to depend on people for rides and use public transportation. Y'all, this has been quite a journey for me, those of you who know. Now, I don't knock it because I have met some great people along the journey. I have met some great people, especially with the public transportation, whether it be through whether it be through riding a bus or a Lyft or Uber or whatever I had to use. I have met some great people. It's allowed me to develop some great relationships with those people, talk to them about purpose, talk to them about life, talk to them about God. But I also at times want to be able to drive myself. So I'm grateful for that, guys. So that's just a little testimony I wanted to share with you guys about that. So I encourage you, if you're in need of healing, as a matter of fact, I'm glad we brought up the healing, because I'm going to tell you guys, I am first a prophet and a teacher. That is the foundational ministries of my life. There's no greater call upon my life than the prophetic and that of a teacher. All right, they intertwine together. They flip back and forth. They are the greatest mandates upon my life. I know I'm an apostle. I know I'm a pastor. I know all those things. However, there are none two greater than those two. They are the primary in my life. Along with those functions, the gift of healing was one of the first gifts that manifested in my life. It was imparted from my leader. It was activated with him, the gift of healing. And I'm going to tell you the truth. When I started going through some of the situations with my eye, I became very apprehensive about exercising in the gift of healing. And I remember as the year came in, the Creator began to deal with me more and more about the gift of healing that was in my life and the requirement that he had for it in this season right now. He began to remind me, of all that God did and has done and all that have been healed, through the ministry of healing in my life. And we give him all the glory. I gets no glory. He gets all the glory. So I want everybody to know and prepare yourself. In November, we are planning a healing service, a one-night healing, I guess, crusade, if you want to call it. So I'm going to be getting more information out about that. And this will be the first one, but it will not be the only one. If you're in need of physical healing, if you're in need of spiritual healing, emotional healing, psychological healing, I want you there in the place. If you have the gift of healing, thought you had the gift of healing, been hesitant about the gift of healing, I need you there, because being in that atmosphere is going to reawaken that gift. It's going to activate that gift, and it's going to provoke you to be free to exercise in that very gift. So stay tuned for information about that. All right. The next thing I want to talk to you about during this time, last month was Mental Health Month. And I take mental health very important. Why? Because one of the things that we do here at this ministry is we talk about being whole, living a whole life or a holistic life in all core areas of our lives. And that deals with every area of your life that deals with health. We don't focus on the spiritual and not hit the psychological. We don't focus on the psychological and not hit the financial. We want to make sure that we hit all core areas, every core area of your life. We want you to experience or begin to exercise or position yourself or posture yourself to experience wholeness in every area. Having said that, I was hosting my radio show, Transformation Radio. If you have not checked it out yet, visit www.cliftonpettyjohn.com/trans, TRANS, 4, Mation Radio. And you're going to see the replay of all the shows as well as information about upcoming shows we have. Well, I was on the show with one of my mentees, Miss Keisha Brown, and we were talking about domestic violence, but then some kind of way we tripped over and started talking about therapy. And she was saying how she went through therapy and, her relationship with God plus going through therapy had helped her overcome some things, and how she was going back because she realized that she needed to go back because some other things started to come up in her life. And right while we were in the middle of that conversation, it hit me like a ton of bricks. You need to go back as well. So during these last 2 months, I have began seeing my therapist again, and it has been life-changing, guys. I'm so excited that I made the choice to go back. I'm so excited that I had Keisha on the show. She's going to be back in August as well. But I'm excited I had Keisha on the show because it awakened something in me to realize that I needed to go back, because there were some more things. And as I'm finishing up the What Now book and just focusing on other things in life and in ministry, I'm realizing even the more some of the things that I've just brushed under the rug, or I've tried to still hide in the closet, and them bones were still rattling. And I wanted to make sure I deal with those bones that are rattling, and I pull that dust from under the rug to make sure that I'm dealing with everything that I need to deal with, so that when you come to me and you want to talk to me about things that you don't want to deal with and you want to run from, I can tell you with conviction, with passion, with authority, no, baby, we're going to sit here and we're going to face this thing together and fight this thing together. So if you're out there and you're contemplating going to therapy, I encourage you to do it. I encourage you to do it. As I always say, I know what we were taught, you know, from a culture standpoint, but therapy has saved my life. In real talk, therapy probably has saved some other people's lives. Me going to therapy has probably saved some other people's lives as well, but it has honestly saved my life. And I wish I had did it years ago, but I'm grateful for now, because I believe that if I had did it years ago, I may not be standing here talking to you or sitting here talking to you right now. So I thank God for everything that I went through, and even the things that I blocked out that now I'm facing. So I'm grateful for that, and I want to encourage each and every one of you, if you're out there, you need a coach, you need a therapist, step out and get it. Step out and get it. It is okay to have a personal, intimate relationship with God. It's okay to have a pastor, to have a spiritual advisor, and to go see a professional therapist. Do not hesitate to do it. Do everything that you need to do in order for you to be successful, as I said a while ago, in all core areas of your life. All right? So that was the second thing I wanted to talk about. Another thing I wanted to talk about was, guys, my nephew graduated this year. And that also, you know, was something that was a trigger towards going back to therapy, because, you know, one of the things that I believe in being honest and transparent with each and every one of you. I have not been the greatest family member. I can say that I made some choices years ago, and I felt like from those choices, the best thing for me to do was to separate from my family and other loved ones as well. I tell people that before I allowed individuals to reject me, I just backed off. Well, the sad part about that is that's a greater form of rejection, because now you're rejecting who you are to yourself and who you're able to be to others. And, you know, for years, I was not, you know, in my nephew's life and in other family members' lives. And, you know, that was something that I had to go back through therapy and begin to deal with. Why wasn't I doing it? And I remember on graduation night, I was having a conversation with one of my family members, and we were talking about, you know, us and, you know, how they felt the same way about how they hadn't been there, not just for my nephew, as I said, but for some other family members as well. And they were like, you know, Cliff, this is how we do. We don't connect emotionally with other people because we feel like those we connect to always die, or if we connect too deep to them, we're going to die. And you know, sitting talking to her, it really made it click for me to realize that that's how I've spent my entire life. I've spent my entire life not really connecting emotionally to anybody. I let people in. However, I have not let people fully in. And I know that in ministry, sometimes we're told, oh, don't let everybody see you. But here I am talking about transformation, and here I am talking about transparency and being real and being honest. And here I am at the same state as my therapist said. He said, there's a side of you, Cliff, that's just jumping off the mountain into the water. And then there's a side of you that won't even climb the mountain, you know, to jump in the water. And I purposed in my heart and mind, we're heading into this last part of this year, that this is going to be the year that I completely take that plunge. So if you are out there and you haven't been connected with those who you need to be connected with, it's not too late. And that's what I said in my mind, because I felt like, well, it's just too late. And I thought I was delivered from what people said, but this situation helped me realize the more that I was not as delivered from what people thought or what people said as I thought I was delivered from it. And I had to break those chains and break free from that to understand I may have not been there because there were some things I was working on within myself. But that will not be the end of the story. So I want you to understand, don't let what the story was be the conclusion of the matter. Turn the page, turn the chapter, close the book, write a new book, and allow God to deal with that side of you that causes you not to connect at that intimate level. Because I can even say too, that was some things, even within my marriage as well. Now, there's a lot of other things as well. But I think that was some of the things in my marriage as well. Now, looking back at it, is that I just don't allow people in, and I don't want to be like that for the rest of my life. I told my therapist, I don't want to be like that for the rest of my life, because I want to enjoy life, not by myself. I want to enjoy life with someone special. So I encourage you, if you've ever dealt with that, it's okay to get those things right. And I purposed in my heart, I'm going to get it right with my nephew, not through words, but through my actions. I'm going to get it right with my brother. I'm going to get it right with my entire family, because while I was off helping restore families, while I was off people embracing me as their family, I was not doing a very good job representing Christ with my family. And, I've repented to God. I've had conversations, and there's more conversations I'm going to have concerning that. But I purpose in my heart, I'm going to have those uncomfortable conversations so that I can fulfill the purpose and design for my life. You know why? Because it's an attack against what God has created and called me to do. I was brought up in a ministry that focused on family while I was refusing to focus on my family. But one of the things about reconnecting that I've learned is that which I was out there looking for, I wasn't going to find externally, but it was within my family. So I'm taking baby steps in some areas, and I'm taking big strides in other areas, but I'm going to take the steps that I need for God to get the glory out of my life, and for me to make a greater impact on those that are in my family as well as those that are outside of my family. Okay. So as I said, I'm just giving you guys updates on everything. Now, let's talk about this. Yesterday, guys, I had the great opportunity of, and this is my first time, real talk, this is my first time going to Pride, and this was my first time being a vendor at Pride, at the Pride Festival, Delaware Pride. Shout out to those in Delaware that came out and experienced Pride, and those who stopped by the table. Y'all, this was an amazing experience for me. One of the things I understood was, and I talked about this a while ago, I know, my greatest functions in the body of Christ are the prophet and the teacher. But one of the things I learned even more on yesterday is how powerful conversations are through me. I can say it so many times that God will ignite things in individuals who have a conversation with me. It'll cause you to rethink some things and reawaken some things in your life and help you realize that there's hope. But I did not realize that any more than I did yesterday. I had the privilege of speaking, and so people came by, they purchased the book and all of that, and I thank God for that. That's great. It's wonderful. You know why? Because I know that's going to be a great tool for them in the midst of their transformation. I had the chance to meet some couples. I met some straight couples. I met some gay couples. I met some lesbian couples. I met, individuals that were just unique in every possible way. But the main thing that I took away from this is that everyone is at a certain stage of their journey. And if we're not careful, we can kill individuals in their place or hope to find life. And one of the things that I endeavor to do is to close my mouth and listen. To close my mouth and listen. I've done that greatly. But after that, begin to speak life where life needs to be spoken, and to speak an end to things that need to be spoken. I met a young man. It was his first time at Pride, and he came up to me. He wanted the book. He didn't have enough. Hey, I don't have a problem with that. We're going to bless you with it. But what amazed me about this young man is he kept coming back to the table, and he kept coming back to the table. He kept coming back to the table. Finally, he started a conversation, and I realized why he kept coming by. And I was like, okay, God was giving me direction for an area that I need to make a move in ministry-wise, and we'll see what else was. So then I met another couple that came up to me, and they said they were reading about the empowerment sessions that we have on a monthly basis. And they said, "You just do them down here?" I said, "No, I do them here. I do them in New Jersey." So they said, "Well, have you thought about coming up to the northern side of Delaware?" And I laughed because that's the same area that the young man was from that wanted to be a part of it. And we talked, and then the young lady explained to me, she asked me for my story, and I began to share with her my story. And then she began to share with me, she said, "Do you mind if I share my story with you?" And she began to share her story with me, and I was blessed by her story. And we both were talking about the sacrifices that needed to be made in order for us to live in truth and to be who God created us to be. And her story just really blessed me. And she was from up north as well. And then to end the day, I met another a lesbian couple that was, I love these two. I love the other ones too. But these two, I knew it was something about them. And she started reading my stuff, and she was like, "From Stagnant, oh, I need this book. I need this book." So she started asking me what the book was about. I began to explain to her about the book. Then she saw the flyer I had for the ministry, and she said, "Where do you do these at?" I said, "Well, it's mobile." I said, as you see on here, I said, if you text info each month, you'll find out where we're going to be located at that month. And she said, "Where are you this month?" I told her where we were here in Dover this month. She said, "Okay, have you ever thought about coming up north?" And I was laughing about it. And as we began to talk, I said, "Okay, it's something about you. What is it?" And she laughed, and she was a pastor, a Lutheran pastor. And she was in a great transition in life. She was transitioning from pastoring a traditional church to now understanding the mindset of ministry. And she actually was the last people, them two were the last people to come up to the table. And she wanted the book. She wanted me to sign it. We sat, we still had a conversation. And she ended up talking to me about her testimony as well, and her fight with domestic violence and all of those different things, how she escaped that. And I told her, I said, "We're going to connect. I'm going to have you on my radio show." Because these are the type of people that I want on the radio show. They have a story. They're not afraid of sharing their story. And all she kept saying was, I just feel like there's a deeper connection there. I said, "I know it is. That's purpose. That's ministry. That's why we're here." So it was a great experience. I probably had some fun. But at the same time, there's nothing greater than being able to minister to people. I love it. I love it. I love it. So if you're watching, because I told some of you, come on, follow the page and be a part. You wanted to experience the teaching. If you're watching, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being who you were. Thank you for being authentic. I was so excited just to see so many people free in who they are. Now, I want to also talk about this part here. I want to shout out my high school, Sussex Central High School, because they did something, and maybe they've done it before. I don't know. This is my first time at a graduation in a long time. Excuse me, I have to get a drink. They celebrated diversity so awesomely at this graduation. But it also showed me where we are as a people. And it saddened me. It really saddened me. We had a young man that I graduated with his sister, went to school with him, knew him. I was so excited to see and hear all of the things that God was doing with and through him. And I was really excited how he was talking about how he didn't think he was going to find love, but he found love. Him and his husband were celebrating, marriage. And I was so excited for him because, you watch young people and then they grow up and you see them come back and you see the success that they're having and the excitement about it and just all that God is doing for him. He's a diplomat of the United States. He's traveled all around the world, knows multiple languages. Just big shout out to Julian Cooper. So proud of him. Just awesome things that he's doing. But even during his speech, I watched some people's body posture and, even some of the things that were said. And, I try my hardest sometimes to rep Christ to the fullest. But there are some things that frustrate me. And somebody had made an ignorant comment that was near me concerning, what he was saying. And before I could even say something, somebody else stepped up and said, okay, so what's the problem? And they couldn't really respond to them. They could not respond to them. And I said that to say this. My prayer and my hope is that we will, as a people, seek to be informed and educated beyond our prejudices, our thoughts, and even, I'm not even going to say our theology, because when I understand theology is something that I've studied for myself. Many of us are stuck in traditions that have been told to us. We haven't studied it for ourselves. We haven't examined it for ourselves. It was just something that we were brought up and told was right or told was wrong. We don't know the history of it. We don't understand any of those things. We just know that's what I was told. So because that's what I was told, that's what I'm going to believe. That's what I'm going to teach my children to believe. That's what I want them to teach their children to believe. And we don't realize some of the pains and frustrations and angers that it causes sometimes. And as I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, what if that person's child was struggling with who they are and they needed an outlet to share it with somebody? Surely they couldn't come to you, the person that was saying it, because you already have preconceived notions concerning it. So it helped me understand even the more, and it made me, I came home and I cried. And I did not cry because, they made an ignorant statement that hurt my feelings. I cried because I'm like, this helps me understand why people are committing suicide. This helps me understand why people feel as if I have to live this life that everybody expects of me. And even though I'm not happy and nobody around me is happy and we're all miserable, that I have to do this because this is what is expected of me. And my encouragement to you is, if you're out there and you're listening, and as I said, I've talked about a lot of things on tonight, but this rings heavy to me as well. If you need an outlet, reach out. I'm telling you now, you can reach out to the Transformation Center. The Transformation Center is a secured environment for all of us to share our journey, to share our story, to share our pains, our frustrations, our angers, our fears, our resentment, and to share it all, to throw it all out there on the table and feel safe enough to be able to be authentically who we are, while God is creating inside of us the ability to become more comfortable in who we are and more confident. I'm going to say confident more than comfortable. I don't know if we technically ever become fully comfortable in who we are, if we're making strides to be more impactful and to transform our lives and the lives of others, but become more confident in who we are. So that's my encouragement, is that if you don't have to like it. And I want to share something as well. If anybody is listening to this that may take a stance against those who are in same gender relationships or whatever it is that you might disagree with, nobody's asking you to agree with it. Nobody's asking you that. The only thing that I ask is that we be respectful of those who are, as much as you want them to be respectful of your situation. Respect goes a long way. You can respectfully disagree. I can sit down at a table with people of other religions and other faiths and other beliefs. Why? Because I respectfully disagree with what they believe, but at the same time, I know that it's something I can learn and gain from them. And it's okay to learn and gain from them. So that's my encouragement to us all, is that this is a month where we celebrate Pride. And I know some of you it's hard because you feel like, I heard somebody say this the other day and I was like, are you serious? Like, I don't care if you are gay or you're a lesbian, just be quiet about it. Well, there was a time when people felt that way about black people or those of a minority. So why is it that we seem to be the most oppressive people when we've been oppressed so many times? I don't get that concept. And I know some of you feel like that's different. No, we're all human, regardless, as I said, of what your religious beliefs may be. We are all human and we should respect each other as such. So again, shout out to Sussex Central for taking that big step. Shout out to Julian for doing everything that you're doing. Awesome, man. Awesome. I'm so proud of who you are and who you are becoming. And congratulations to you and your husband. All right, here we go. So let's go on. I think we have one more thing to talk about. I'm going to let y'all go. Looking ahead, here's where we're at. We are going to revisit the Blueprint series. We have not been able to get that going yet. We are about to embark upon the Blueprint series. But if you were paying attention before I had to take this sabbatical, you remember that before we do the Blueprint series, we started the Who is Spying Out Your Land part of the series. This is a prerequisite to that series, okay? And we did part 1 of it. I encourage you to go back and watch part 1 of it because we're dealing with each spy that went in and spied out the land. We're going to deal with the characteristics of their name. And we're going to find out if those characteristics tied to their name is the reason why they brought back the report that they brought back. So we're going to look within ourselves to see if we hold any of those characteristics inside of us that has us bringing back a report that's contrary to what God has said concerning us. With me, I realized many times I was bringing back a report that was contrary to what God said concerning my eyes, concerning the ministry, concerning my business, concerning my personal life. I was bringing back reports that were contrary to it. And when I began to study these characteristics, I found characteristics within me in all of these names. So not just Joshua and Caleb. I know many of us say, yeah, I'm Joshua. Yeah, I'm Caleb. Y'all, you're going to find out that sometimes we haven't been Joshua and Caleb. We've been some of these other characters. And that's the reason why we haven't went in and possessed the land that was rightfully ours. So I encourage you to stay tuned. We're going to start this series next week. Next week, we're going to run right into it with part 2. So make sure after you listen to this, you go and listen to part 1. All right. I thank each and every one of you again for joining us on tonight. I am so glad to be back with you guys. Listen, if you have any questions or you have a topic you would like for us to discuss on Transformation Radio, Indoor Transformation TV, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Again, I answered this question on Transformation Radio. I haven't addressed it here on Transformation TV. Someone wrote in and wanted to know, what does the number 4 stand for in transformation when you write Transformation TV or Transformation Radio? And it stands for the 4 core values of my ministry, of my business, and of my life. This is what we aim to do. Every time you listen to us, we, number 1, aim to educate you. We believe that education about something increases your stock and your value. It increases your worth, and it stirs up inside of you a desire for better. We aim to empower you. After we educate you, we want to give you the tools and principles to apply that education so you are now empowered, not just with principles and tools, but with strategies to implement those principles and tools. We want to, number 3, activate. We want to activate every gift, talent, and ability that's inside of you that is connected to your God-given purpose and design. That's spiritual gifts as well as gifts that can be exercised in the natural as well. Because when we activate you, then you become more educated and more empowered to use those tools, those gifts, and those abilities to transform your life and transform the lives of others. And then number 4, we want to release you to do all that God has created you to do. in different seasons or different times and spaces of your life. So that 4 stands for to educate, to empower, to activate, and to release. So when you hear teachings, when you hear conversations, when you connect with us through life coaching or whatever, those are the 4 things that you can expect to experience. All right? Listen, as I always say, create a great day, walk in your purpose, and by all means, execute your vision. Be blessed.